Okay, so excuse me. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a quick look at texture mapping or UV unwrapping a little bold Lara today. So I'm using my 2016 because 2018 the majority of this is gone, and they've updated the UV editor because the UV editor in 2016 is a nightmare. But this is the version you are using in the lab, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm just gonna I'll close up. Okay, so first of all we need to basically I'm going to make a new shelf, okay, because we're going to put a few UV tools on it that we're going to use um, frequently during the tutorial. Okay, so new shelf, let's call it UV. I'm tempted to put potatoes, but I'm not going to. I'm going to put UV unwrap. Okay, so one of the things I want to put on this. So to put something on this, I believe you hold Shift and Control. So to put something on your new shelf, if you put hold down Control and Shift at the same time, and then click what you want to add. So the main thing we're going to be using here is Unfold, so I'm going to add that. So there we go, it's appeared on my new shelf. Okay, so basically this is my shelf. This is the tool that I put on my shelf. Okay, so let's get started. So the main thing that we want to remember is that we're going to be creating seams. We're going to be splitting the body up so we can unwrap the figure in it's very much like, seems very much like on clothes, so that if you look at where your clothes are, the seams on your clothes are, this is kind of how you unwrap materials to flat planes. That sounds like gibberish. I'm going to re-explain. Okay, so we need to turn this 3D model into a series of flat planes. So it's very similar to making clothes. If you take a piece of material which is obviously sort of kind of 2D and flat, then you need to cut it into shapes that will then wrap around the body. We are kind of doing the reverse procedure. So let's go. Okay, so back to edge mode. So we're going to continue dragging or selecting the seams or the edges in a sort of similar fashion to as if it were a t-shirt. So let's try that. So let's do both sides. So let's go to cut. Okay, so next up, I just tried to turn symmetry on for this, but it's having some issues. So you might be able to turn symmetry on so you can select both sides at the same time, which is Control Shift and right, and symmetry, and then topology. So you need to define a seam down the middle of your body, which will allow you to adjust symmetrical to adjust both sides of your body at once. But there's something wrong with my mesh. My mesh is not a clean mesh. It's a bit of a mess, but it's certainly not a great model, but it's alright for the purposes of a tutorial. So let's get these edges in here. So if I click that one, just double check I've got it. And then if so we're going to go down to here. So then if let's just see where that's going. Okay, so I'm just trying to find the under the arm, but obviously, this isn't a T pose, this is an A pose because I'm an idiot. So if I hold Shift down and double click this, that's fine. So if you hold Shift and double click, it will select the edges in between. So let's do that again. Let's get down to here. So Shift and double click. Okay, so that's given us a nice clean break down to the waist area. So I'll cut that. That should be okay. It looks okay. Yeah, so let's do it on the other side. Let's go over here. So I need to get back in there again. Very tedious. So it needs to join up with the other part of the seam, I should point out. If I can actually work my fingers. Okay, so we've got all of that one. Let's take it around to here so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Shift, double click. And then to here, shift, double click. Yeah. So cut that. So finally, I'm going to need to get this seam here, or this edge, and then I want to add in that. I might as well just do it by hand so I can see what I'm doing. I don't want that one, don't know what I was doing now. Okay, so that's one side, and then let's add that, and then that, and then I'll do my utmost to double click. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you'll soon find out if this isn't a complete seam. So I've got this is incorrect. Okay, so that should be the bottom of our seam for the torso. Let's do it. And obviously I've gone and selected 10,000 other faces because of the amazing selection tools in Maya and my own stupidity. Okay, so let's just see if I've got anything else selected. Nope, let's cut that. Okay, so that looks like we should have a shell there. Right. Okay, just one last thing that we must not forget, if I can just turn my stupid grid off, is that for this to unwrap and become flat, we need to give it a cut down here. So we'll cut it down there, and then we will no, not unwrap, sorry, cut. So I've just cut it down there. Okay, so this should now unfold flat if we are good to go. So if I go to object mode, because it will only unwrap in object mode, and I also go to UV, so I'll just show you that again. So you go to UV, and for some reason it doesn't seem to work unless I select all of these. Then I go to unfold it. Does a bit of work. So let's open the UV editor. So now we've got, this is the torso piece unfolded. Basically we can do a few things with this, like relax it to make it slightly straighter, and also there's a thing up here which shows you the stretching on polys, which I'll talk about in a bit, but there's some obviously. So these bits here, we're going to be working on these. So in a minute we've just selected and made this shell, so we're going to keep unwrapping until we get the entire figure sorted out. Okay, so next up we'll go for the weird and lumpy head. So I will grab hold of this edge here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to, let me see, up to this here I think, maybe this one here. Whoopsie daisy, did it wrong. So this, I've kind of selected the entire edge loop. I'm going to just take it up to, actually I do want to take it up to here. So take it up to there, take it across here, and then take it around to the front of the head, and then don't select that bit there accidentally, like what I just done. Okay, so let's have a look. Oh, I'm doing it in this weird angle. Okay, is that the same on both sides? Looks like it to me. Let's go for it. So that's cut. Yeah, alright, so same again. Let's go back to object mode, and what we'll do is we will also go to UV. So UV, so that all selected. Let's unwrap it again, and then let's go to our UV editor. Okay, so there we go. We've got, if I turn this thing off, so that's okay. That's okay. So we can see the mouth, we can see the nose and the eyes. So there you go. We've got a head unwrapped. Okay, that's the next stage. So let's keep going. Okay, so next up, let's have some leg action. Edge mode. So let's cut this down at the ankle. Again, seems to be some issues down here with my polys or my edges. Integrity of this model is not, shall we say, ideal. So I'll just select add this, and then I shall go up to here. Okay, so that should unwrap. Let me just give it a go. Object mode. Okay, oh, did something weird there. Let's unwrap it, and then let's UV editor it. Okay, so now we've got a big leg. Alright, so I'm just going to, well, actually I'll just do the other leg and then I'll move on to the next step. Okay, so next up I'm going to do the arms. So same sort of thing, we just want to make sure we hide the seam on the inside. Get off. I want to hide the seam down the inside, so I'll get hold of that one, I'll get hold of that one, get hold of that one, double click. Okay, that's fine, and then I'll add this. So that should be, well, I should probably have taken that down one more. Let's just undo that. Okay, so I'm just gonna check that. So let's cut it. So going all the way around. I can't see because the leg's in the way. Lara, get your leg out of the way. Right, so let's just double check that. So let's go to object mode. Let's go to UV. Let's select it all, and let's do an unwrap. And then, oh, excuse me, and then UV editor. Have we got an arm there? Okay, so here's the arm. Okay, so I will just do the same thing for the other arm, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so the last things that I've just done the other arm, so the only things we've got missing are the feet and the hands. Okay, so I'm going to try and cut. I want to cut along the look at that. It's already causing issues. I want to try and cut along, basically right around the edge of the hand. Probably don't want to drag the entire. So I just want to split the hand in half, basically. So looks like I'm going to have to do this hard way. Don't hold your breath, could take a while. I'm old. Okay, so right, so that should, is that going to unwrap it? Let's have a look. Let's cut that. Okay, let's go to our object mode. Let's select it. Let's go to UV. Missed a bit off the foot there, of course. Undo that, and then UV editor. So we have got the hand here, but I've probably got the other half of the hand somewhere else over here. Okay, so it's not ideal, but I'm uncertain why there's such distinct shapes. But yes, so we've got the two halves of the hand there, so it is still paintable. There's probably some ways we can relax that to flatten them out a bit and make them look a little bit more like hands. Let me just check that. Okay, so none of the textures are particularly straight, so this is good, but we will I'll just do the other hand and then we will finish up. Okay, so I have decided I can't be bothered doing the other hand because I want to have my dinner, so I'm going to try for the foot. A similar sort of thing. I'm basically going to want to create a seam around the bottom of the foot, so this one should be a lot easier. So basically I'm just going to select this face here. It's not a face, is it? It's an edge, thanks. And then we just take it up to, well, actually let's take it up here so it's a little bit easier to understand. Okay, so let's cut that. Object mode, UV, thanks very much. Then unwrap that. Let's see what's happened to our foot. So I'm assuming this is the upper part of the boot and this is the bottom of the foot. Let me just have a look. Yeah, so I've just basically added something to shell in the UV editor so I can see what I've got selected. So this is the top part of the shoe as suspected, and this shell here is the bottom part of the shoe. Okay, so that's pretty much it really. So the only bits we've got left on this UV editor are the bits I haven't bothered, the leg I believe, or haven't bothered unwrapping this foot. So that's something you'll need to do. So obviously this is all nuts, the layout. So the thing that we're going to need to do is you're probably going to want to start adjusting this into some sort of format where you can understandably texture it. The other thing you can do is that you can also move your shells, and using the same tools as you use in the main editor windows, you can basically, to prevent you having to paint things twice, you can overlay. You'd have to flip this. There is a tool up here for flipping. If I could find it in this crazy menu system, it would be a miracle. But yeah, you understand what I mean. So that you can effectively flip your two UV maps and put one over the other. So when you're painting it, they'll basically come out as flipped or mirrored versions of the same texture, which means it saves you a lot of bother. So I'll just take that back to where it was. So you can reorganize your entire page like that. There should be some sort of automatic reorganization tool. This used to be it in 3ds Max. I think this is called Pack. If I press on this, I've got a funny feeling it'll go mad. Well, it hasn't gone mad, but it's not much help. So yeah, really, the next thing we'll do is we'll try and have a look at how you can pack this properly. But I mean, you know, unfortunately, manual labour in some cases is often the easiest and quickest way. So, you know, get your legs sorted out the right way up, get your head sorted out the right way up. Oh yeah, and the other thing we do, I just want to quickly mention before I bore myself, is, it might be this one. It's textile density. So you want to basically, if you have a slight red colour on any of these faces, it's inferring that the faces on your model, or sorry, the UV maps on your model are too small. So you want to kind of make sure everything's pretty much a pale white colour. If it's blue, it's much too large. It's much too stretched on your the UV map on your model. So we're doing pretty good, but there are various tools. Actually, there's a few issues here, but there's various tools for kind of slackening and easing the UV maps. Although I'm not familiar enough with this gibberish up here to actually find it. Okay, so I'll kind of have a bit of a fiddle, and then what you can do, of course, is save this out to. You can save this out as a Photoshop file, and then take it into Photoshop and start creating your textures. Yahoo! Okay, bye bye. Okay, guys and girls, so not quite Yahoo yet, because I realised that I didn't actually know how to output the snapshot of the UVs. So I've just come back to object mode, and I've just selected the figure, and I'm going to go to UV editor, and then apparently it is polygons UV snapshot. So it's project default images. Okay, that's fine. Size ridiculous, but I'm not going to change it. Well, let's just actually make it something sensible. Okay, keep aspect ratio, image format, my IFF, stupid, PNG. Okay, well, actually PSD better, but let's just go for a PNG. Okay, so let's try that. So project's default images out UV PNG, so I'm just going to find that and see if it opens. Okay, so it does indeed open in Photoshop, but because it's been exported from my 2016 UV editor, it's stupid. Okay, so because we can't see what the hell is going on, and it's given us a alpha channel which isn't an alpha channel, and so I can vaguely see some little lines here. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly cut the image, fill it with flood fill it with black, and then just paste. You know, you can invert that, but at least I can see it now. We've got a layer where we can actually draw underneath it. So if I select layer 1, it seems I can't select layer 1. No, it's not letting me select layer 1. Okay, but at least I can see I can actually see the UV maps now, so we can start creating some we can start painting textures underneath it. Okay, Yahoo again.